We're talking prize money in Strongman because something really exciting has happened. There's been twice in the past 3 years that a show has overtaken as the #1 paying show in Strongman, and the strongest man on earth has just done that. I'm going to talk about all the major shows and where they lie now, with the hopes that some promoters see that others are making a huge effort to give back to the sport. I've made a full video on the payouts in Strongman compared to other big men sports. You can check that video out up here, but let's get straight into it. The 4 biggest shows for us are World's Strongest Man, the Arnold Strongman Classic, the Rogue Invitational, and the Shaw Classic, now the strongest man on earth. Fun fact, I am the only person in history to have won all 4. Of course, these shows haven't always been happening in all of history, so it is a newer thing to do, but still something I am immensely proud of. Now, among these shows, there are also a subsection of shows called Giants Live, and I do want to be very, very clear that I am only covering the top 4 highest paying. Giants Live runs several shows, and on aggregate, over the course of a year, they're the #1 paying show in Strongman. That is where you would go if you actually wanted to make a reliable full-time income, because the reality is, if you win shows, you do really, really well. If you come 3rd at shows, everything drops off exponentially. In fact, in all of these cases, 2nd place in a show makes less than half of what 1st place makes. Now, let's talk about World's Strongest Man first. World's Strongest Man, the obligation is to head out there for a week at a time. For most people, you're traveling overseas to some extent. It's probably gonna eat up, I would say, a week and a half or so of your life. Now, the total prize pool is $210,500. The winner gets $75,000. This is stuff that I've read online, and I can say, yep, that's relatively accurate. They bring out 30 competitors for this, so that money is split between a lot of different people. It bottoms out at $1,250 for last place in the group. If you've got someone who you're cheering for who unfortunately gets hurt, they're going to be making effectively annualized like $50,000 for the year. If we consider you're there for a week and a half before you can leave work and get back to work, it's really embarrassing, if I'm being honest. This hasn't changed since I've been competing, and despite selling tickets this year, despite many things that have increased revenue, they report higher TV numbers, etc., we don't see any of it. So unfortunate from Worlds, and this is now the 3rd highest paying show in Strongman, cumulative for 30 people, and it is by far the biggest show. So that is split across the highest number of people. Next up, we have the Arnold Strongman Classic. This started now 22 years ago. I've been fortunate enough to win this twice. Fun fact, when it was first done, Mark Henry won the first Arnold Strongman Classic, and for a handful of years, the winner was given a Hummer, which is quite funny, I think. But the winner here gets $80,000. The total prize pool is $182,000. And this is split amongst 10 guys. On average, you're talking $18,000 per guy. Of course, it's top heavy, and bottom doesn't quite make as much. But the obligation is essentially 3 days to head out to Ohio, probably 4, to be fair. Head out to Ohio, compete for 2 days, 1 day beforehand of meetings and equipment testing, and then you're off to the races. They also have, in my opinion, the biggest, largest expo possible. It's amazing, absolutely incredible. Unfortunately, I was never there before I was Strongman Mitchell Hooper, so it's very difficult for me to walk around and absorb it all when it's busy and exciting. Nonetheless, it is incredibly special to be a part of, and I'm very thankful that as a Strongman, we are part of the Arnold and that piece in history. Next up, this is the previous highest paying show, and it still would be, but the prize money this year has dropped considerably. I'll talk about that in a second. This year, the winner is going to take home around $115,000, and the total prize pool is $257,025. Last year, the winner won $32,000 more than they're planning on paying this year. The reason for that is because they've brought in the strong woman, and so the total dollar allocation amongst all the athletes involved, of course, has to account for that. And in this show, for the first time ever at a major show, the women and the men are being compensated the same, just like they are in CrossFit. So incredible opportunity for the women to come out and make some good money. Really, it's impossible for a female strong man, strong woman, whatever you want to call it. It's impossible for them to make a full-time earnings from competition winnings. And this is the only show where they have the opportunity to do that. So I think that's really cool. Now, the new highest paying show that has jumped the Rogue Invitational is the Strongest Man on Earth, run by Brian Shaw. This is, in terms of economic reality and truly giving back to the athletes, this is, it's unparalleled. This started with a $53,000 total prize pool in 2020. We are 4 years later, and the total prize pool is $266,000, and the winner's taking home about $100,000. The cool thing about Shaw is that he spreads the money more evenly across competitors. If you go and you perform poorly, you're still gonna have some type of livable wage off the back of that, something to make it worthwhile for taking the time off work for those who have to. And of course, if you do well, you're disproportionately rewarded for that. The other cool thing about the Shaw Classic is they've got the Expo, the Shaw Classic Expo beside, and the fans there are absolutely rabid. They love to buy the merch, they love to interact, they absolutely love Strongman. I've never been in a crowd of fans as passionate, as invested, as excited about Strongman as those at the Strongest Man on Earth. Now, those are the top 4 shows shake out. The thing to realize is that very few strongmen can make a full-time living just competing. And even those who can make a full-time living just competing have to rely on other things like YouTube channels, like merchandise, like other businesses, whatever it may be, to be able to make ends meet. And it's a real turning point in the sport, because 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I talked to the guys back then, and they talk about competing in car parks for $2,000 or $3,000. Basically, they'd earn their beer money to go buy people beer at the end of the day, and they truly loved it just for the sport and just for participation. And in that time, off the backs of those guys, it has absolutely exploded in terms of opportunity. And I feel very, very much gratitude towards those people who really did the hard yards. So whilst all of these numbers, you know, you can say they're good, they're bad, they should be higher, whatever, it's all headed in the right direction, really across the board. All of these shows have increased their prize money over time. Once Strongman becomes something where people do it full time, and you can commit yourself to full-time training, and you don't have to work a job that's going to be laborious, or a job that is particularly stressful, or long hours, or you're sitting all day, whatever it may be, and you can take care of your body, to me, that is where the sport is going to go to a whole nother level, where people are going to be able to actually make good money, justify, be able to support their family, etc., etc. As an aside, economically, I don't know how the average person supports their family right now. I think it is an absolute crisis that someone just going and being a manager at a department store, there's no way you can make ends meet living by yourself in most places in the Western world. So that is the highest paying shows in Strongman. I would love to know what you guys think. Go ahead, pop in the comments. Does this surprise you? It's really only the 4th year that the Shaw Classic Strongest Man on Earth has taken place, and it has already topped every other show in prize money for a single day prize money. I'm thankful for that. I'm very thankful for that. And hopefully the other shows are looking around thinking maybe we have to step up our game as well. And for me, it's about giving back to the community. We do that through Lift Heavy, Be Kind. We're making donations back to independently owned gyms all the time to make sure other people can do Strongman and get a fraction of what it's done for me. Not necessarily financially, but done for me emotionally, spiritually, in terms of community, confidence, on and on and on. So hopefully as many people out there can get out there and participate in the sport as possible. If you want to support that mission, go ahead, check out the shop below. And if you want a program written by me who has won all of the major shows in the world, that's in the pinned comment. I would love you to join Team Moose, and hopefully you'll get as far as I can. Thank you very much for watching. As per usual, lift heavy, be kind, and we'll catch you tomorrow.